What's the fastest way you have seen somebody frick their life up? Opiates. Most start off with painkillers, get addicted, move to H and either die or lose everything. 2 old friends. 2 acquaintances and sister-in-law's ex-boyfriend all dead. 1 old high school friend is on the streets now. Do y'all wanna see a backflip in the pool? There's something eerie about someone with a broken neck trying their best to move, only to fail and realize something is deeply wrong. Last thing I heard, he's paralyzed for life and became a recluse. This guy's first day working at a diner, he drops his tongs in the fryer, decides to pull him out with his hand. Surely the plastic glove will protect him. That hot oil fused the glove to his hand and we never heard from him again at work or school. A guy I know was always a little obsessive when it came to women he's in a relationship with. In the most recent frick up, he met the girl, quit his good secure job, and spent most of his money to move across the country with her after 3 weeks of officially dating. 3 days later they break up and he moves in with his parents. No money, no job, almost no car after driving it back across the country again. He couldn't get his old job back due to burning bridges when he left. It was like a movie. My uncle moved from Canada to Europe with a girl that immediately dumped him after they moved. Worked out for him, thought instead of coming back he decided to stay there and has lived there for 11 years now. Former teacher friend ruined her marriage, her career, and social life by sleeping with a student. A student that she and her husband had legally adopted together a few years before. I have a friend who is bipolar. November of last year he was earning 40k plus, taking care of his son, and doing well. He felt so good in fact, that he went off his meds. By January he was living in the streets, jobless. His ex-wife had a restraining order against him, and pretty much all his worldly possessions were stolen when he hid his shopping cart behind a dumpster. Current whereabouts are unknown. Oh no, that's terrible. Stopping your brain meds because you feel better is like being outside in a snowstorm, wearing a warm coat, and taking it off because you don't feel cold anymore. I hope someone finds out what happened to him one day. Arrested for DUI Friday night. Released Saturday morning. Arrested for DUI Saturday night. Not released Sunday morning. This is ridiculous. A girl in my hometown just got arrested 3 times in 8 days for driving with a suspended license, as well as not having the required interlock device from her last DUI. Also on the 3rd arrested they hit her with trying to elude officers. Talk about a downward spiral. Guy from my hometown gets a full ride scholarship to a D1 for football. Not a powerhouse D1 school but still, he has a great career at said school. Does so well. In fact, he gets drafted by the NFL. Sometime right after the draft, he gets into a car accident while drunk. People get hurt, none die thankfully. He gets badly hurt. No contract, no NFL. Falls into cycle of trouble prison. Just for. In fact, he's going back to prison again for something drug related. He's not 30 yet. Judge in the article even said he'd never seen anyone fall so far in his career as a judge. I know a woman who, despite having an advanced degree and successful job, had very low self-esteem. She had an uneducated Egyptian boyfriend, got pregnant, married the Egyptian, and he convinced her how much better life was in Egypt, and he couldn't keep any of his low-paying jobs in the US, and convinced her to move to Egypt with him. During the first few months of their marriage, she caught him cheating several times, and turns out he couldn't keep any of his extremely low-paying jobs in Egypt either, and divorced him soon after the baby was born. In Egypt, you cannot leave the country with the child of an Egyptian man without his permission, which he will not grant. So unless she gives up her baby, she cannot leave Egypt. So she's stuck as a single mom in Satan's butthole. A friend I met during freshman year of college came in with thousands of dollars saved from refereeing for youth sports, which I guess pays pretty well. He spent all of that money in about a month. He did ecstasy nearly every day and had a 2-week snort binge on top of that in the middle. Despite my and others' efforts to get him to get his crap together, he was kicked out of the school with a .28 GPA by the end of his first year. From there he was kicked out of family homes for stealing money and prescription meds and ended up living out of a yellow convertible someone sold him for $300. From all this was born some sort of eating disorder. I met up with him and bought him some food and he couldn't even fit 3 garlic knots in before he felt sick. He was so fricked that his skin was basically purple with a yellowish sheen. It was freaking awful. We lost touch because he kept being an asshole and did some pretty meh things on the friend scale. But I ran into him a few years ago and he was actually doing pretty well. A girl had helped him clean up and he had some fattened life in his face again. Mum got a DUI. She's a Pepsi merchandiser who drives 60 plus miles a day. Would be a great joke if she had coke in the cab. I worked in construction when I was 19. This electrician would do right before work in the parking lot. He was my ride and he would shoot it up right in front of me as if it was nothing. He was such a pro, he would shoot the perfect amount to be still functional. The guy had almost perfected the art of sleeping, really passing out, on top of 14 feet ladders until one day he falls and destroys his spine. Now he can barely walk, lives on shelters, shoots and his family and life are gone. I knew a guy a few years back who was a typical stoner, barely finished high school, going to community college, taking some classes, smoked every day, ate Taco Bell, played video games. So one time he tried DMT. He thought it was amazing and wanted to do it again. About a week later he was smoking DMT 5+ times a day and claimed he used it to talk to other beings who were giving him the instructions to time travel. He sent letters to NASA, the local government, the CIA, and the FBI. He wanted someone to listen because he thought he had it. I could not make sense of anything he was saying and don't think it related to any real concepts. About a month into this, his parents thought something was wrong with him and tried to send him to a rehab. He wouldn't allow it, so he beat up his parents. After all, this reality wasn't real and he could go back in time and undo his mistakes once he built a time machine. Well, the police came and arrested him for assault. I'm not sure what happened after, but his Facebook has never been reactivated and I have heard nothing about or from him in 5 years. Girl I know overcame a household destroyed by drugs, did really well, and eventually became a physician assistant. She had surgery, got hooked on opioids like her parents, and started filling fraudulent prescriptions with a couple other PAs at the hospital she worked in. Got caught, arrested, did her time, and cleaned up. She got off probation and immediately started doing drugs again with people she met in a rehab program. When I knew her, she was such a kind, smart, funny person. It's really sad. Addiction really fricks lives up. I'm expecting lots of stories about MUs. My sister was one of those. Although she was a rebel and fought with my mother like 2 wet cats in a sack, she graduated high school at the top of her class, was involved in tons of extracurricular stuff, and had a full ride scholarship to go to college to be an EMT. She smoked pot on occasion, and got busted for it all the time, but mostly she kept her problems low key. But she has a thing for thuggish guys, gangbanger wannabes, and one of them got her to try M. There it all fell apart. Dropped out of college, lost her job, began stealing from family members to buy more M. She abused her friends for help constantly, lost everything she owned, including 2 cars. Her health plummeted, losing her hair, her teeth, and was a scrawny bag of bones. She and her boyfriend were eventually busted for stealing pharmacy drugs and selling them out of a hotel room while she was on parole. She spent several years in prison and, silver lining, got clean. She did so well she was able to go on work release for a year and earned enough money to start over. She paroled to another state to live with our retired father for a bit, until she finds a place of her own. Although, frustratingly, the silly ditz was supposed to go back to college. Instead she got pregnant immediately with a new boyfriend. So there's that. She seems to be doing well all things considered though. At my school this week, some dumbass posted a picture of a fake gun on his Snap story saying don't go to school tomorrow. That kid is now in jail. People I grew up with tried M. That's simple. They loved it and now I have no idea where they ended up. And that's why I have no interest in trying M or H. Because I know I'm gonna love it. I'm probably gonna love it more than my mom, my husband, my son, pretty much anything else. I never want that to happen to me. I know there was a whole thread about it yesterday, but if you want to ruin your life, try drugs. My little brother went through a bad breakup and coped by taking speed like candy. After he went to college, that graduated to coke. and coke graduated to H. When he was using, he would describe his life like being a freaking rock star. As a drummer, he lived to play music and surrounded himself with other people who were like-minded. He told us he lived in communal housing with world-class musicians and played drums all over the area to stay afloat. The reality was he was living in an abandoned house with 12 other vagabonds who all sold and used too high to play anything. All that ended when he woke up next to a buddy who OD'd. Needle in his arm. 2 years of recovery later, he's been in and out of rehab, relapsed and cleaned up, and lived a roller coaster life while trying to get back on his feet at my parents' place. Only just now is he able to get back to living on his own and holding a steady job. I'm so proud of how far he has come, but he had to claw his way up from the bottom. To this day, there are things that will never be the same because of his Greek problem. Trust is always hard to give, and my family lives every day wondering if the good choices he says he is making are actually happening or covers for illicit activity. In addition, my brother has lost some of his cognitive skills. Thoughts go by the wayside. Things are harder to remember. Even drumming, his life passion, is a little more difficult. Honestly though, my family is lucky. The lasting damage is minimal. My brother is alive and committed to recovery. But if I have any takeaway, it's this: don't freaking do drugs. It will freak your life up and freak your loved ones up too. A kid in school decided to show off by jumping off the school roof onto a mattress. He slipped and fell 20 feet onto his head. Can't move anything below his neck now. I had a friend of mine who was super athletic. He was riding with the parents of a friend of his. Those parents got into an argument and one of them pulled the parking brake e-brake going down the highway at 70. The parents ended up okay, but their son passed away from the wreck. My friend ended up with permanent brain damage and loss of some motor functions. Man, my story is like super PG rated compared to some of these. One of my best friends is who it happened to. To preface, this happened over a few months span. Basically super successful, working for an oil and gas firm. 24 years old. For some reason goes through a recruiting service to find a better paying job. Ends up finding one. But the deal was not 100% done yet. He takes a few months off and decides to quit his job knowing that he's about to start a better paying one. Also buys a freaking house in the middle of all this, knowing he's about to make more money. A week before he is supposed to start. Oh, by the way, we filled this position, so you should probably just stay put until further notice. He burnt bridges to leave his old job, so he was not able to go back to work there. Had about $500 to his name with over $3,000 plus in bills, truck, car notes, new mortgage. Had to work for a $10 HR job and sell off all of his stuff to get back on his feet. Again, this is just the worst I've seen personally. He seriously had it made before this. He didn't get an offer letter. He didn't get an offer letter. Let me repeat. He quit his job without receiving an official offer letter. That's the level of freaking up we're talking about here. The bridge burning was the worst, not the quitting. Near my town, a 22-year-old kid was speeding from work to his girlfriend's to confront her about cheating. Tried a risky overtaking maneuver, clipped another car and went careering onto the pavement. Smashed into 3 young kids. One was a 2-year-old toddler who died instantly. Happened about 5 miles from where I live and I've drove up and down that road several times. Horrific in every sense. An underage guy whilst intoxicated punched another guy because he insulted his girlfriend. The punch, he fell and broke his skull and probably suffered brain damage. The underage guy is currently on trial for assault and being intoxicated whilst underage. He was a sophomore at my high school and now faces a few years in jail. This happened about 1.5 weeks ago. Someone I know was a straight-A student, got accepted into an excellent nursing school, dropped out, started working at a gas station and got hooked on prescription painkillers and all in the span of about 2 years. Sometimes the pressure is too much for people and they cave. I've seen it happen to a few people throughout school. Cheating on her husband and graduating from C to crack. Went from being queen bee socialite to outcast within 2 years. A guy I knew from high school is in the process of freaking up his life. He just got engaged to a girl he met a week before the engagement. It's been 17 days and he has now bought a car for her, bought a 7-diamond ring for her, moved in with her, taken several days off work spending time with her. We work for the same company, so Elva been seeing when he was last online. Guy gets a huge promotion at work. buys himself a new truck and his wife a new BMW, goes away for training, starts banging someone else who was there for training, calls his wife drunk and tells her about it, gets hit with massive alimony and both car payments, and now has this stressful high paying position but is always broke. Guy brought a BB gun to school, waving it around in the parking lot. Senior, just a couple months to go, athletic scholarship to a decent school, all gone, because he wanted to look cool with his friends. Not directly seen, but my cousin got too drunk one night. His brother put him in a taxi home and told the driver he would get paid when dropped off at his mum's. Cousin so drunk doesn't realize this and starts freaking out about having no money and demands the taxi driver let him out. Cousin getting angry about it, so taxi driver does. The road he is out on is the M8, the biggest motorway in Scotland, quiet at night, but still cars coming down. Cousin is walking on the motorway, all over the place. Two cars swerve round him, one of which pulls over and rings the police. While on the phone to police, she hears a massive thud and screeching brakes. Some poor guy on the way home from work, on the same road he always drives down, at the same time, hit him. My cousin is dead. If he hadn't have drank so much, or reacted in such a way, he would be alive. The driver who hit him will be scarred for life. The taxi driver will have the what if in his life forever. My aunt is severely depressed, a recluse who doesn't go out. After 10 years she still hasn't cleared out his room. 4 life's fricked up quite quickly. I ran over a Porsche 9 days into my trucking career. Anecdotal story. One summer, my younger brother's friends were partying at a lake, all in their mid-20s. I think they had rented a pontoon or houseboat, can't remember for sure, but one guy dives off the boat into shallow water and hit bottom. He was instantly, and now permanently, paralyzed from the neck down. That means he needs to be fed, bathed, clothed, everything, by somebody else. My brother and friends still take him out to movies and restaurants, heck even amusement parks, and they take turns pushing his wheelchair and feeding him. My worst fear is being paralyzed like this. I am such a fiercely independent person that death would be better. Stay safe while partying, gang. Good on them for sticking with him. These stories usually end with the friend slowly stopping contact due to the difficulty, and the person in the wheelchair alone and depressed. There was a woman wasn't paying attention. She might have been on her phone while out for a walk. I think she was just getting some exercise. She walked right out into an intersection and got blasted by a car going about 35-40. It sounded like someone hitting a wall with a 2x4. She flew about 15 feet. She was dead within seconds. The woman driving fell out of the car onto her face on the pavement. She was screaming and it was terrible to hear. She wouldn't get up. Finally, some other drivers who had stopped after the accident came and carried her to the side of the road. Traffic was backed up for a long way. I was just getting gas at that intersection and wished I hadn't witnessed it. It's pretty fricked up. That woman just left her house for a casual stroll that morning and it was the last thing she ever did. Just because she didn't pay attention for a couple seconds, it was over for her. It's scary. My neighbor and his girlfriend decided to have a kid at 18. When she was pregnant, they would always fight. One day I watched them yelling at each other, throwing rocks at each other's cars. She ended up going to Arizona and he started his own landscaping business that was going well. She ended up coming back and he got her pregnant again. They verbally fought and he hung himself a couple weeks ago at the age of 20. A girl my brother went to high school with was driving home after drinking at a party and hit some woman who was walking home from work that night. The girl drove away and the woman died later on the roadside. Pretty sure high school girl is going to do time for that one. She had full ride scholarships and everything too. I had a friend in high school who got a full ride athletic scholarship to a regionally prestigious college. He was all set to go when his mom and girlfriend begged him to stay in town instead because they loved him so much and couldn't bear for him to be away. So he gave up his full scholarship and stayed home instead. Within a year his girlfriend had dumped him and his mom had kicked him out of the house. The opportunity had passed, and now he was living in town without the things he'd sacrificed that opportunity for. Granted, it looks like he's happy based on current Facebook. Who doesn't look happy on Facebook, really? But things really went to crap for him quick. That is a terrible parent. I've worked on and off as a line cook. A guy hurt his back, got hooked on painkillers, lost everything, killed himself, all in about a year. Nothing anybody could do. It was just a downward spiral. Angry soccer player punches referee and kills him. Player receives 8-15 year prison sentence. There was that really old Reddit post of the guy that tried H for the first time ever for a bit of fun. I can't find it anymore, but I'm sure someone knows which one I'm talking about. Former friend of mine decided that it was a good idea to hide his phone in the bathroom to get a video of his girlfriend's 13-year-old daughter coming out of the shower. The daughter found the phone and needless to say he will be paying for that mistake for the rest of his life. This exact same thing happened to a student of mine. I can't remember if it was her mom's boyfriend or stepdad, but it was super fricked up. Used his phone, was found out, mom kicked him out at first but then later forgave him and let him move back in. So the girl left, became homeless. I think she's doing alright now, though, I hope. I don't remember her name, but I think of her often. Friend got drunk and did some acid and hit his girlfriend in the head with a hammer, then stole her van and drove to the nearest major city and just waited on the side of the road for the cops. Natural life, no chance of parole. You have been visited by the snake of great corn. You will be blessed with corn for eternities to come, but only if you comment corn me up. Snake, if you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.